Hey, everybody. It's me, Tanisha. Oh, welcome, y'all. Happy day to all of you beautiful people. How are y'all? What y'all getting into today? How has your day been so far? I hope that you have something amazing and special and just empowering plan for yourself. Hey, y'all. It's me, Tanisha. Oh, and welcome to Tea with Tanisha. Oh, I am the CEO of Blending Our Love Incorporated. I'm a forgiveness coach. You know how fun it is to be a forgiveness coach? And I'm an author of Empowered Stepmother. Get that book. It's a dope book. A corporate trainer and keynote speaker. And I absolutely love the gift that I get to give to other people as I support them in their journey of forgiveness and healing, breaking through, getting to the other side. Some of y'all right now are like, how can I get this done? Some of y'all are beating yourselves up as you prepare for the Thanksgiving holiday. You're getting yourself together because family, let's face it, when you are around family, they can hit triggers and things in you like nobody else can. Different things spark inside of you when you deal with family. And so I just want to send y'all love today as y'all prepare to go forth on this Thanksgiving day. It may be a little different. You may not be with family. You may, whatever it is, I'm sending you love. And as a forgiveness coach, I help people break through to the other side. But today I want to talk to y'all about yes and. Are some of y'all wondering like, yes and what? Yes, and everything. So here's the deal, right? When you think of something that's happened in your life, let's say there's a problem. When a problem comes about, you are able to rattle off every problem. Listen, this, that, you got it going. Yes, this thing and that thing and another thing. I'm gonna tell you about yourself. You can rattle off all the problems. And when there are a lot of problems, when there's one problem, you can find 25 or 30 other problems to go along with that. Like, because you're like, yes, and another thing, and another thing, and another thing. And you can and but for some reason in our lives, when we are in a space where we're asking for something, when we're speaking into existence the things that we want, when we're speaking up for ourselves to get what we want, we don't say yes and. When we're asking for what we want, or we're believing God for what we want, or somebody says, hey, what do you want? You're like, I don't know. I don't know. Well, if you just give me this one little thing, we're trying to play modest, but when it's a complaint, you can pile that complaint up. But when it's what you want, when it's what you need, when it's what you really have been praying for and asking God to open up the floodgates of heaven for, all of a sudden you cannot say, yes, and give me more. You only say, well, if you see fit to give me this little bit. So today I'm coming here to tell y'all, yes, and. When it's time for you to get whatever you need, it's yes, and. So you want something in your life? Yes, and I would like to have this as well. Yes, and I would like to have that as well. I would like to have 10 full paying customers, and I would like to have 35,000 people buying my products. Listen, y'all, when you are believing God, or you are walking in faith, or exercising, being courageous, being brave to get what you need, to get what you want, to gather what you have a desire for, I need y'all to start saying yes and give me this, and this, instead of just, okay, maybe just one little thing. Listen, y'all the child of the Most High God. You're a king's kid. You can tell me everything about the Bible, quote it from beginning to end, tell me all this stuff. Then how come you can't stand in your authority, stand in your boldness, stand in your bravery to be, yes, and I want more, without worrying about people judging you for saying, she wants too much. That's their business. If they don't have the faith to open their mouth and believe that they can have exceedingly and abundantly above all that they could ever ask or think, that is their business. That's not your business. It's yes and. So effective today, effective this moment. What do you begin to say? Yes and. Yes and. Speak up for yourself. Yes and this and that. You no longer have to just want one thing. And because God sent you one client today, that's enough. No, if abundantly and exceeding and overflow is what you're praying for and what you're believing for and what you know to have, then it's always yes and. So stop only saying and another thing when you complain. Because let me tell y'all something. When y'all have a complaint, y'all can go down the list of all your complaints. This was wrong. That was wrong. That was wrong. When things ain't going your way, when people mistreat you, you can tell them everything they did. But when it's time for you to talk about what they did right, How about you say yes and to that? When you need to compliment your man and tell him how wonderful he is, it's like you can barely say he did something nice to you. You can't say it. Listen, let the compliments roll off your tongue the same way the complaints run off your tongue. Because when you can find a word of compliment for people and joy and appreciation for people, the complaints they tend to kind of dwindle away. Yes, and oh, baby, you so sexy and handsome. And thank you for being a good provider. And you look so nice the way you wash the dishes. And look at the way you walk when you take out that trash. And thank you for taking me out to dinner. And thank you for the flowers. And thank you for loving me. Thank you for sitting here watching this TV show with me. Thank you for helping me grease my scalp. Thank you for just being. Thank you for being everything that I prayed for. And find a way to say yes and to your dreams. Find a way to say yes and when you compliment people. Find a way to say yes and in all the good things of your life. This happened to you. Oh Lord, yes. And I know that things will turn around. Yes, and I know that I'm still more than a conqueror. Yes, and I know that all my needs are met. Continue with the yes and see how your day and your life will flow differently when you find the yes and yes and yes and to the positive versus yes and to the complaints. Listen to yourself a little differently. Seriously. Take a moment to really listen to yourself a little differently and listen to how quickly you can roll complaints off your tongue versus how quickly you can roll compliments off your tongue. Find a way to find the joy and the appreciation and the love and the thankfulness and the peace and the harmony and just the laughter and kindness in all things, even if it's a mistake, even if you don't get it right. You made a mistake, yes, and I'm still perfectly imperfect. Yes, and I still did a great job. Yes, and I'm still more than enough. Yes, and I'm still going to continue to show up. Yes, and I'm still me. Yes, and I'm still worthy. Yes, and I get to be a work in progress and an expert at the same time. Yes, and I'm still growing. Yes, and you see, when we deal with things like unforgiveness or you're worried about your family, like, oh, you done failed, you trying another business. Yes, and I've learned from the last obstacles that I encountered and I've shifted my behavior. Yes, and add that yes and to the things that you're speaking over your life and the things that you want and the things that you're going through and the things that you're growing through and the things that you're forgiving yourself from and the things that you've learned and the things that you are doing to embrace and build healthier, stronger relationships. Yes, and come on, y'all. It's time for you to become so positive, so empowered, so built up, so filled up with the yes and that when you hit the dry patches, when you go through those valleys and those dips, because they're coming, they come, you still have filled yourself up with so much yes and so much love that you can still see a little bit of sunshine, even in the midst of the darkness, even in the midst of the deepest pain, even in the midst of the sadness and the sorrow that you may be encountering. You still can say yes and I know that tomorrow will be a better day. Yes, and I failed today, but I'm going to learn from this and I know that I'm still worthy. Yes, and I haven't quite figured it out yet, but I know that I'm still on the right track. Yes, and y'all, give yourselves that grace. Give yourself the gift of love today and always to say yes, and yes, and I love y'all so much. If there's anything that I can do to support you, love you, be there with you, coach you on, y'all know where to find me, forgivenesslifestyle.com, or you can reach me in my DM. But for today and moving forward, just try it. Yes, and see how much your life will change. I love y'all. I'm going to see y'all soon. Ciao.